tonight. Is this Revenge of the Chef?
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Revenge of the Fifth with Nick and Jess. Woo.
Hello.
I don't get to wear this hat very often. This is my cool Sith
What
hat.
is that hat even? Like, let me take a moment.
It's Donald Duck as Darth Maul.
Oh my god. And it's a knitted hat. It's the worst hat.
Oh yeah, it's totally
brilliant.
a knitted hat. You can't wear this in Florida. Like there's no use for this around here, other than for the first 30 seconds of a show like this. So, hi everyone.
Hello. Happy
Welcome
Revenge
to
of the Fifth.
Yeah, I've been revenging all day. I don't know about you.
I don't even celebrate May the 4th. It's not my area.
Not your thing. We earlier today I did my cooking with Nick segment where I made authentic Rondo wraps, and those
How
came
did
out
that go?
delicious. It went
Yeah?
okay. It was all right. So
I
here
tuned
was
in
the
for a split second, and you were like, "Well, eventually we'll find smoked sausage, but for now we're just gonna make do."
I had that. All I had. Look, I went to 3 grocery stores. I braved the virus and went out to 3 grocery stores and couldn't find smoked sausages anywhere. They were literally sold out.
I've always
Everywhere.
wondered where they get those.
You don't want to
Because
know.
it's not. That was what surprised me about the Ronto wraps. I know we're like veering off
Yeah.
course of like the whole intro of the show, but I remember like in gearing up for the land, there was all this talk about like, oh, there's gonna be these hot dogs and they're gonna be really good. I'm like, a hot dog. I love hot dogs, but I didn't expect it to be this like super savory, like snappy, like smoked sausage. And I can't seem to find
Yeah.
them anywhere. Like you get like the kielbasa. But you can find like a hot dog version of a smoked sausage to recreate it. It's really hard.
It's a very southern thing. The closest I can recall to it is and this is getting way off topic, but I did a road trip. I used to
People
live
want to
in
know how to make
Connecticut.
these.
It's okay, Nick. Disney couldn't follow the recipe either. Yeah. So I was on a road trip from Connecticut to Florida, and because I lived in Connecticut, went to Florida to go to school, and we drove through Virginia, and we stopped at a gas station. We were hungry. This guy overheard us, and he says, "Oh, you got to go to Timmy's. If you're hungry, you got to go to Timmy's." And he's like, "You take a left and a right and a right and a left, and you go around here." We went through like the hills and mountains of Virginia, like a half an hour out of the way to go to Timmy's.
West Virginia.
And we go there, and it's this little shack, right? And he's like, "You got to get Timmy's hot dogs." So we went in and we said to the guy, we said, "Someone told us we got to have your hot dogs. Where are they?" And he gave us this. And I'd never seen such a thing. It was like these long, snappy, like you said, like a little bit of bite to them kind of hot dogs. And they were amazing. And that's kind of what these are. So, yeah, they're a kind of, they're more sausagey than hot doggy, but not like your real smoked sausage.
Yeah.
They're the thin baby kind of link smoked sausage. Anyway,
It's a manageable
couldn't find
sausage.
them. It is. And so, who knew we'd spend the first 10 minutes talking about sausage? Um, so,
Roasted
so
on
anyway,
fires of Mustafar.
so a Ronto wrap, right? So this it's a sauce that makes the Ronto wrap, right?
Yeah,
Because
the
and you can
peppercorn
find the pork
sauce.
tenderloin, yep,
Yeah.
and all that. But when here's the story I told this morning. When you look up peppercorn sauce, they're all brown, but the Ronto wrap sauce is white. And I always equated it to more white barbecue sauce. And there is a picture from the press releases calling it a clutch sauce, and clutch sauce is a white sauce.
A what sauce?
Clutch,
Clutch?
Clutch. Yes. Okay.
It is pretty
on
clutch.
the press.
It is.
on like a press photo of a Ronto wrap, like it says what's on it. It's clutch sauce. Anyway, so I went to Mandy saying her peppercorn sauce turned out brown. Yeah, peppercorn sauce is
So
brown.
what is it, like the peppercorns tinge the sauce? I've never made it before.
No, because you use like sometimes a mustard or a beef broth, or there's a lot of different ways of doing it. Brown sugar sometimes, and so, but this is more like a white barbecue sauce. So I went and I put together some white barbecue sauce recipes and kind of tried to figure out what does a Ronto wrap sauce taste like, and I tried a few different things and I came up with one. We should probably post that recipe. I don't know. We never post my recipes. I don't think. I type them up and they go nowhere. I don't know where they end up. I probably should send them to you and they get posted. I don't know. Anyway, so it was delicious. It was out of this freaking world. It was so good. I mean, but it was just basically mayo, vinegar, sugar.
It was basically mayo.
Crushed pepper. It's basically mayo. What do you think Disney actually does?
Those things are so greasy. I remember like during the opening in Disneyland, I was like, oh, I just want a Ronto wrap. And I ended up staining. I was wearing like a linen shirt, and I ended up just staining it because like the moment I take a bite, it's just like grease.
Yeah,
but so worth it. I'm not even. I ain't even mad.
So, what do you like better? I'll ask the chat this too: a breakfast version of the Ronto wrap or the lunch version of the Ronto wrap?
And I know there's a different. You've experienced both too, because I knew you were at both.
Oh yeah.
There's like a different version for each. Like I think here you get a patty. Is it here that you get a patty? I'm like having like breakfast wrap.
Yes, here the egg comes as a patty, and I believe in Disneyland it comes as a scrambled. Yeah.
I'm actually not a breakfast wrap person. I've been known to have like during Rise of the Resistance, like you'd get there at like 5 a.m. So I don't eat until like 2 p.m. on most days. But since you're up at like 5 a.m. at like 10 a.m. I'm like, I'm ready for a wrap right now.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
I can get the regular wrap, like coleslaw and all, at 10 a.m, which is really unlike me. Like I usually again like no food until like afternoon, and I'm like, yeah, I'm about to I'll get that and what's the Sarlacc juice? It's like the alcoholic one that they came out with. I memorized the wrong name. I call it the sassy Sarlacc. But it's the surly Sarlacc? I think it's the surly Sarlacc.
That's not a surly Sarlacc. Surly is one of the 7 Duffs, like, at the Duff Gardens.
It's so good. It's such a weird breakfast pairing. Again, like, 10 a.m, and I'm having, like, vodka and a wrap. It's the best. I miss that.
Yeah, I mean the wrap really is just, the breakfast version is just without the slaw, which basically is just shredded cabbage and carrots, and then without the pork tenderloin. You get cheese, right? So you get the sauce, you get eggs, you get cheese, you get the whatever the long sausage like meat is. Someone's saying it's sassy. Is it really a sassy Sarlacc?
It's not. It's not. I totally. Right. When the drink came out, I helped review it, But in my head, I was like, oh, it's a sassy. It's totally not that. I have to look it up now because, again, the parks have been closed for 3,000 years, and I'm forgetting these things.
Crazy.
But yes, I'm not a breakfast wrap person. I am more of a normal Ronto wrap. I haven't tried the chicken wrap yet, but I also hear it's good. But for what, like again, like the sausage and everything, it's such a cool combination that I can't not pick it. And
Yeah.
then
Mandy's saying the Felucian garden spread is amazing too,
oh yeah,
and
that's my other
she's
thing.
right.
For that you have to like go inside and stuff. Here I can just be
Yeah.
savage and just eat it, eat a Ronto wrap
Eat on the
from a
street. Yeah.
yeah. What is it, do you also get? I don't know if it's just me. Sometimes it's annoying, but it's part of the experience. I love how like this whole show is just now derailed into talking about Ronto wraps. But
well, the logo is
like
cooking with Nick, so I think we have to, right?
But I get the same sensation. I don't know if it's part of like the peppercorn sauce, and they might have just sprinkled it on everywhere, like the citric acid. So it had that same effect. If you've ever had a fuzzy tauntaun in Oga's Cantina, that it gives you that like but it gives you like that mouth numbing sensation, like that tingly sensation. I get that from the wrap sometimes. I don't know why. I feel like it's something in the sauce. It's really annoying. I don't know. Maybe
well,
I
it's
think
a
it's probably
tangy
the
sauce.
peppercorns and stuff. Yeah.
So the apple cider vinegar, the citrus. So I think I don't know what citrus
It's
they might
surly
use to
sarlacc,
make
by
it
the way.
tangy. So it is surly. Wow.
Surly,
Okay,
yeah.
that doesn't.
They went with like a
Okay.
cutesy name, so I just like gave it a ridiculous name.
But yeah, I think it's. I mean, you get a little bit of tang from the citrus that's in there, which I used lemon today. They might use lemon or lime, go either way. And but yeah, the peppercorns probably. Sometimes it's a little spicier than other times.
Yeah.
The Rondo Rap Live. That's the show.
That's what the show is
No,
now.
I want to see if we can make it all
You
2
were
hours
sick.
just talking about Rondo Rap.
This is really just a BuzzFeed quiz. BuzzFeed quiz to determine what kind of Ronto wrap you are.
That's amazing. Oh my god.
So
Well, I
good.
laughed so hard I heard it
Man,
come back to me.
actually, like rewatching, I was telling Nick every year I try to rewatch all of the movies, or at least the first 6, as part of like May the 4th, whether it's after work or in this case during work. And it's kind of interesting seeing so many things again. Like it's always cool watching the movies fresh again, catching some new things, and then seeing it in like, hey, I think I saw that in like Galaxy's Edge somewhere. Like isn't that in Dock and Dars? It's always fun discovering like different connecting things. Someone's saying, "What's that berry breakfast thing? Moons over Batu." That was like for some time. That was like a Chef Cookie's breakfast or something. They gave it like a cutesy name.
Oh,
too.
Cookie Tugs or Tugs?
Yeah.
Cookie Tugs. That dude?
Mm-hmm.
That dude's weird.
Well, can't wait. Can't wait to have a Ronto wrap in a few months.
Right? Can you tell? I mean, that's all we want. We just want.
There are times where I have like a dining reservation, and I'll be like, I'm gonna pregame my meal with the Ronto wrap. It's a snack, even though it's not. But I'm a monster.
It's a good. It's a good appetizer for sure.
So, Nick, I think we've waxed poetic about wraps for long enough. People are going to sleep. I think we need to kick it up a notch.
Uh-oh. We don't want to lose anybody. I will say that, talking about the Felucian garden spread, I'm really upset because I wanted to make that today. But I ran out of time because of work.
Meatballs and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's like a hummus with like a cucumber, relish. It's not even a relish, it's just like a little pico.
Cucumbers and tomatoes, yeah. And then the what is it called? The little vegan cakes that are in there too.
Yeah, those are like impossible they're supposed to be like meatballs, kind of, but they're
Well,
actually quinoa and like lentil based. If you bite into it, you see little bits of like quinoa. I'm like, yep, it's a real deal. It's really
by the way,
good.
that took way too long. But that's what we're eating, by the way.
No.
Yup.
Oh my god! I just
I don't
realized you
know.
can hear my neighbors in the stream right now.
I don't know which part
Like,
of
who
it
are
we're
those
eating, but with.
people? Probably the rump.
Oh, is that what I'm hearing? Chat, like, cause I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm like, I have. This is like always my joke. I have like hurricane-proof windows. These are like this thick because they're supposed to be like impact-proof, wind-proof. And my neighbors who are Cuban, I'm Cuban, so I can say these things. They're very loud. And this is just them talking. So, and since like my office kind of overlooks right next to where their patio is, it's like a condo. It's like I'm with them. It's horrible.
Aw.
Let me see if I can change my settings on here and like mute them out a little bit.
Oh, it's
Oh
fine.
god.
So, for some weird reason, yeah, I guess I don't know why, but I'm hearing me sometimes. I don't know why. Anyway, yeah, why am I hearing me back to me all of a sudden? I wasn't hearing that at the beginning of the show. Does that sound the same to you, Jess? Uh-oh. Now I can't hear anything. What did I do? Hello? Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't know why I'm hearing stuff. Give me a second. I lost all sound. I'll get this fixed. Don't worry. You entertain them, Jess. Hello? Heck. We can hear Nick, not Jessica. That's weird. People are saying they can hear Nick and not Jessica. No, Jess.
Oh my god.
Oh, maybe.
Nick,
I think you muted yourself. I thought it was my headphones.
I've had a very long day.
Oh my. This is fantastic.
We would get force choked so hard right now if the, I would be dead right now if I were.
So Clone Wars.
Yes.
I mean, that was that was an emotional and epic conclusion. I mean, these last two episodes really blew me away with the quality of work, like all around, the writing, the animation.
You remember that time I sent you that petition to watch this whole arc in the movie theater? Now do you get why?
Yeah.
It's so the cinematography, and it's crazy that we're talking about cinematography in terms of an animated kids show, you know, but all of the shots, that final scene, everything, like, again, spoilers for anyone who's tuning in and who has not seen the end of the series. We will be talking about it. So just be prepared. I went ahead and I remember I messaged Nick at like, it was like 2 in the morning, and I'm like, it's out. So all of the new content that was supposed to come out on Disney Plus came out early. So Usually these things like tend to like release at like 7, I think is my belief.
Oh, really?
Um, right, and I've had horrible insomnia lately, and I was just happened to be awake at 2 in the morning, and I'm like, I was trying to see if they had done they have this cool, if you have Disney Plus, you should actually check out the whole like Star Wars section. Did you see all the new concept art? Well, it's not
I
new, it's old
know.
concept art, but they like it's so cool. Like that's what I was like, oh, let me see if the concept art is up, and I'm like, everything's up. It's all there.
Yeah. Yeah, I spent so much time looking over that.
Yeah, no, it's great. All of the concept art is amazing. Um, that's right. So 2 in the morning, I'm like, you know what? Normally I wait until like I have a day off to watch. I need to watch this now. So I just delved right in, and I had just seen Revenge of the Sith. So it all like tied in, even though it was chronological, but it all tied in, and it was just all the more impactful. Um, it felt kind of short. Did it feel short to you, or just like I just
It,
wanted more?
really short. I all of a sudden it was just over, and I could feel it, coming to that conclusion. It was interesting because I didn't know. I love the way they ended it. I wouldn't change a thing, but I was wondering if what they would show us, like if they would jump forward a couple years and show us anything.
Right.
But I guess that's
Where,
Rebels. I
yeah.
mean, why should you? And why take away anything from maybe some future? Because we could always they could always come in and fill in some holes between Clone
Right.
Wars and Rebels and show us what Ahsoka was doing. So don't pigeonhole yourself. But I love the way it ended. The way it ended with Vader. I mean, that really takes you
No,
right
that
into
ending
Revenge of the Sith.
shook me. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean it just right. I mean, and if you think about the ending of Revenge of the Sith, I'm like, this is basically right after basically Anakin made the full transition to Darth Vader. Um, so you realize I'm like, at this point, he's lost everything. He lost Padme, even after this whole like series of events was basically to save her. He loses her. He loses like his children, and then he comes to this point and he realizes he's lost Ahsoka too, or at least he thinks he has. Um,
Mhm.
so like I mean, I'm always one of I'm like I love Anakin's arc and like his whole storyline and his transition into Darth Vader, and then even Darth Vader, like how he was just basically twisted to the point of becoming this menacing character. Um, but again, like it's so much pain and so much anguish and so much loneliness.
Yeah. It's really emotional when you think about how we got to see the very last time that Ahsoka and Anakin saw each other,
See, I
and
called
then they
it.
separated. Right, and yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, and what I didn't realize, because I'm watching Clone Wars, or excuse me, Rebels, and I'm
Right.
rewatching Rebels, and coincidentally after watching that scene, and then talking to you, so it was like a day or two later. Um, the episode of Rebels came on where Ahsoka actually references the last time she talked to Anakin and what he was
Oh
about to
wow.
go do. So she actually talked about that. So some people, yeah, I mean, it seemed like the last moment. They could have worked something in, but they didn't need to. That would have been forced, and what they did was perfect. But thinking about that, and then the whole idea of she'll never see him again, and she doesn't know what he's become either yet, and
Right.
and then he goes to that memorial there on that planet and finds those artifacts, finds her lightsaber. I mean, that's just chilling. Like, and
I
what's
was
going through his
yeah.
head at that point? Like, how much is he really recognizing it? How much is he, is he sad? Is he angry? What's going
No,
on
I think
there?
there's immense regret, or like and you see a few moments of that in Revenge of the Sith, and it was like he's like, what have I done? Like what? How is this whole thing? Like I just wanted to save Padme, and then like all of this happens. Uh, it
Well,
was
right,
truly
but
chilling. And
But obviously, like, I love how they jumped ahead to end of Revenge of the Sith, and it couldn't have been too far
Yeah.
after Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
But we don't know how far, how I don't think it's so cut and dry. When he becomes Vader, that he just everything shuts off. I think it's probably a slow progression, or not maybe
Yeah.
even a slow progression, but a progression. And when he sees that lightsaber, I feel like maybe that's part of the last straw. Oh, she gave this up. I really have nothing. Maybe that solidifies in his head. I made the right decision, or I went the right path because
Oh
she gave it up too. Why should I have fought for
no.
the
Yeah.
Jedi?
But the
So
way they set it up,
it
and like, of
is.
course, they know what they were doing. You have that like heartwarming scene of him giving her these new, like, these new lightsabers that he like touched up himself, and then he finds it once, and he thinks probably assumes the worst. It's so crazy.
Right, because
So
he could think she died, right? I guess too.
right,
Yeah, you know what? That's weird. I almost didn't think about that. He could think she died, and that's it.
right. That's what I
Wow.
think.
For
That's what
some
I
reason,
think.
I didn't
He's
even
like,
think
oh
that.
man, like another one. Like.
Yeah.
But again, that scene, the the whole episode seemed very short, but that last scene where his reflection is like seen on the helmet,
Yeah.
and like in that part where like they do this a little bit in like Rebels and stuff, but like the way the light hits the mask, you actually see through to his eyes, which is something you don't get a lot in like the other movies, yeah, at
No,
all.
no,
There's just a
no. You
mask.
don't
There's
get
just
that.
like there you don't get through to the person a lot, which is why I love the prequels, because again, growing up just seeing this menacing figure, and then I realized that there was a man behind the mask, and there's this whole story, and
Well, I love that scene in Clone Wars where Vader's mask gets damaged, and you see his eyes, you see his face, and so
yeah,
he's actually looking at Ahsoka with his own eyes, not through the mask, for just a little while during that battle. I don't know how many times you've watched Rebels, but gosh, I mean,
the
Ahsoka's
Apprentice
amazing
arc,
in that.
is that
Yeah.
I have to. I've only seen like flashbacks within the series of that arc, but I actually
Hmm.
haven't seen it.
Oh,
I
okay.
have to go and watch that too. Like I don't know if I'm ready for it. It was one of those like I put things
Oh,
off because I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this.
I thought you've watched the whole thing. No, no.
No,
Oh,
I still
okay.
have like a few. Like I would just catch whatever I put on like Disney Now back when Disney Now was a thing.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
Um, oh, someone said that I might
people
have
are
accidentally said Clone Wars. I did say
yeah, he meant
when Vader's
Rebels.
mask comes off in Rebels. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we don't get to see him in mask mode in Clone Wars.
No.
Someone's asking,
Well,
what is Ahsoka's? How long does Ahsoka's species live for? I mean, you see her
gosh.
much older in Rebels. She becomes like a leader almost for the group. Um,
Yeah, I always get the timelines weird, but obviously she's
right?
around after Empire too.
Yeah,
Um,
she and Captain Rex live like Captain Rex. You see him as like an old man in Rebels.
and you see Rex in Empire, not Empire.
Yeah,
Return
yeah,
of the Jedi.
yeah.
Uh,
I love
so
I love Rex's storyline. Like one of the hardest things, like I love seeing those episodes. This is like the episode right before the last episode, and in this episode too, you saw him crying, and I'm like, here's this like being that's generally been just manufactured by some aliens on Camino, and he's out here, and he's one of like millions of clones, and he's out here like crying, and like it was just, I don't know, just seeing the tear roll down. I was like, oh.
let's see. So Ahsoka was born in 36 BBY,
Here's my loaf cat.
and then
Loaf cat.
yeah, so like So in the Mandalorian, she would only be like 40
Yeah,
something years old. Okay.
I can't wait. Honestly, like
So that makes
I
sense.
haven't.
That's very doable. Like that's very, very feasible. You don't have to. Should I get my pug Ahsoka in here since we're talking about Ahsoka?
only it's only for yeah, it's only right. Um,
Too bad she doesn't have any Ahsoka Mickey ears to wear.
Ahsoka Mickey ears
So,
because they're impossible to get.
mm. How about the animation though? I never saw animation before like that before on Clone Wars. I think
No, it was
we talked
incredible.
about it in the first two episodes of this arc, but they insanely advanced the animation for when because this is the new stuff that they really produced here, and I mean, my goodness, like that, and I feel like even the very final scene was drawn a little differently when you had the two snowtroopers and the way they like did the camera depth of
Yeah,
field thing with them, and the ship landed, and then all that looked like a different kind of animation, almost a little bit anime. Oh, not quite, but just the movement and the feel, and I think the sound of it. It felt
yeah.
like an like an
No, I
anime
got like
for
movie
you know.
vibes. I'm like, this is like extremely high
Yeah,
quality animation. Like they really just they knew it was gonna be the end of the series and they needed to like do something special. Um, so they went all out and it shows. I mean, it's in. I like you don't usually get goosebumps watching animated cartoons, but in Clone Wars you
right.
do.
You do,
I felt
you
like the
do.
episode did lag a bit, honestly, if not for that crazy ending. I think it would have the part where they're escaping from the clones and trying to get to the shuttle and like Maul gets in the way. That kind of lagged for me a little bit, just because I thought the whole episode was gonna be. But at the end, the ending was just so great that I was like, all is forgiven.
No, you're right. You know, I don't want to call it filler, but there was a lot of the same thing happening. It was almost like, okay, now we got to fight more clone troopers that are shooting
Yeah,
at
yeah.
us.
Oh,
Most of
there's
the
another set, and there's another set.
Yeah, most of the
I do
show
love.
was clone troopers shooting at them and them deflecting with the lightsabers. But there was so much emotion in there because of the way they built it up and the way Rex
Yeah,
was doing his duty. Like, I mean, how crazy is that? Like, those
that's
are
what I'm
his
saying. Like Rex
brothers.
is crying, and like Ahsoka's
Yeah,
like, I don't want to be responsible for killing anyone. You can see that he's like, it's beyond us at this point. Like they don't care. We
yeah,
need to get out of here.
right. Can we talk about when Rex decided not to go along with Order 66? Like, that
Yeah, I
was,
mean, okay.
I
Order
screamed.
66.
I was like, that's how like he,
I
no,
think
like it was nothing. Like, I was wondering how they were going to do it. I was wondering if Ahsoka was going to have to, like, do some kind of mind thing and then, or
no.
if, like, kind of go in there, like, almost like they they kind of turned something off in that CAT scan machine, kind of, right? So um, they kind of completely turned it off there. I didn't know if that's the way it
Yeah.
was going to go, but the fact that he was shaking and actively fighting it was the best way they could have done that. I mean,
So
there's no complaints about
emotional.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, and he's like fighting it back for like the split second that he has to react to it before it fully just takes over his brain. Oh,
yeah,
come on. And then like it going back to fives and how he figured out that they all had like a chip and had been like programmed. It's just and eventually, again, Order 66, and we're gonna talk about this eventually, is one of my favorite scenes. And again, I knew it was coming because I knew what the time frame was for this series. And even then, the moment they cut to execute Order 66, I was like, oh my god, here it comes. Yeah, and all of the other ones didn't. All of the other clones, they couldn't. Cody was like, all right, God.
yeah.
It's also crazy
Yeah.
how like you see them respond like yes, uh, they like refer to him as like the Sith Lord. Like they've been programmed to like basically recognize him the moment the order
Hmm.
was made, and like that was just like turned on in their brains. I love that whole story. I mean, this is why I love Attack of the Clones. I love all of that. Like I love that storyline of the clones, and it's pretty interesting to see at the end too. Like one shortly after the end of the Clone Wars, and like Order 66. Eventually, by the time the Empire was like established, they'd run out of clones. Like they'd all just died off, so they just started recruiting random people, and that was a transition from clone troopers to stormtroopers. And when he's
Joel
out,
brought up a cool
yeah,
point. I wonder
I
how the
thought of that
Bad Batch
too.
reacted.
Right, I don't know. I
Yeah.
mean, in Rebels, they have that episode where they find Rex again, and he's living life independently. But yeah, I wonder about other clones who, I don't know, they had genetic
Well, I mean, there's
mutations.
a
That
couple
doesn't
other
mean that their chip was
clones.
intercepted.
Right.
Hmm?
There's a couple other clones with Rex when they find him. So
Right.
it's not the only one. I mean, they kind of and remember, there are definitely some offshoots. There's some we know there's some clones that kind of went off their programming a little bit.
Yeah.
And I one of my favorite episodes of Rebels talks about how there were leftover like droids, thinking they were still fighting for the Separatists. And I just saw
No.
that episode today, actually, again. And so
It's just
remember, then the clones they had to like come, work together, and they realized that no one really won the war except for Palpatine.
there was no war. It was just a takeover by bad
Yeah.
guy.
which is why I love which is why I love Palpatine so much. I mean, he
That's
is
why I
just
love the
like,
prequels.
yeah,
No, actually, though,
this
realizing
dude is a mastermind. So
right,
cool.
right. If you think of the span of how long, but this is when I had this moment. I like when I was watching that end episode. I'm like, this is such a great episode. They did not have to bring. I know I'm hitting a sensitive topic. They did not have to bring Palpatine back for Rise of Skywalker. They could have just left him as this epic mastermind. I think bringing him back, as excited as I was when I heard the announcement for Star Wars Celebration, I was like, he's coming back, this epic, character from the prequels and from like the main movies and everything, like the guy, he's coming back. But I think they actually undermined his storyline by bringing him back for Rise of Skywalker.
So I have two things. First, I want to answer Scott in the chat. Yes, the Republic Commando books were totally thrown out. I was a little bit. I don't. So all right. I didn't watch the episode a second time yet, not the last one. Was it like we're definitely to believe there was a chip of some kind in planted in the clones? Is that's what
Yeah.
that red thing
Yeah.
was? So there was definitely a chip in there that she shut off,
The
right?
whole thing
Or
was
that
planned out. The whole like the clones are really just
no, I
supposed to
know
be
that,
his army, etc.
but I know that, but in the as Scott's saying, like old canon had it that it was just programmed into their brain, a chip. But this is telling
Oh,
us that there was an actual chip, right? Like this is making a chip in their head
but
canon. There was something in his brain, like a physical something in his brain, right? Is that what they were leading us to believe? That
that's what I've always thought. Now you're
okay.
making me. It's true. She doesn't actually go in and like remove anything. She just does her little thing, and then it happens.
Right. Okay. Someone's
Did you
saying in
freak out? You're
season
another Rogue One
six, they
freak.
the
Did you freak out when she says the Force is with me,
oh
the Force and the Force is with me?
ah
I was
ah
like crying. I'm
stop
like,
it.
oh my god, she said it. I'm such an idiot. It was
Oh
so good.
no.
I'm like, something they've done very well throughout this entire last season is fan service, and I think they've done it very delicately, very well. Honestly, like
No, there are some moments that happen in Star Wars where I just yell out loud, like, I can't believe they're doing that. And when they gave her that line, like, I'm like, thank you. You like you just legitimized Rogue One for me. For a lot of people. I mean, like that's
Yeah, Rogue
people.
One
Some people
rights.
hate that.
I,
Yeah, it's so good. I you know uh
I'm gonna turn off my
yesterday we
AC. I'm freezing. It feels like half inside my
oh
house.
all right, go ahead, go ahead. Uh, yeah, brain freeze. I don't know. I was just so excited. Um, yeah, I don't know how I feel necessarily about if it was a chip. And people are saying that in season 6 or older episodes, there was they mentioned chip. So I don't remember that specifically coming up before, but people are saying that they mentioned chips before. So all right, fine. Don't remember all the little details like that, like chips in the brains.
Got
Um,
chips on the brain.
yeah. Yesterday, Jess, we ranked the films, but they were like Tom's rankings, and they were the
You
crappiest
saw that
rankings.
coming. There is no
Yeah, they were so
democracy.
bad.
There is only the Senate.
Well, he put Rogue One at the bottom, and I'm sorry, even if you like, you can't say that Rogue One is. I mean, you can say it's your least favorite. That's the problem. And when I told Tom, I was like, look, there's a difference between like ranking them as films and ranking them as, hey, what do I love? What do I want to watch? Like, I'm not
I think it's
defending Clone Wars as a well-made and well-acted and well-written dialogue-wise film, but it's one of my favorites to watch.
the other day I saw a tweet and I'm like, you know what, you're right. Like you can in Rogue One you can really tell when it like when they reshot it or like they just cut it in or it was just like retconned in after they finished like the semi-final version of the film. But
Mhm.
again, like Tom's like people who hate Rogue One, like Tom's like, "Oh, like it was a suicide mission, so it was pointless. So then the movie's pointless." I'm like, "No." Like the fact that it was a suicide mission, again, I'm cutting to our panel later on. Like it's one of the most heroic moments. The fact that they're like, yeah, we might die, but we absolutely need
Yeah.
to break all protocol of the rebellion and just, you know, we need to get out there. We need to get these plans, or people are gonna keep dying. So they're like,
Right.
we're gonna
Right.
die, but we're gonna save so many more people in exchange. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's so dumb. I'm like, I don't know. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it was made so well. I really do. I mean, there's a lot of problems with it, but there's problems with every Star Wars film. It's enjoyable to watch, and get out of here
I
about
like it
fan
more than like
service.
this last trilogy of like this last set of like films. Like I like a
Yeah,
lot of these like side stories. Like I like Solo. I like Rogue One.
yeah, yeah,
Sorry,
yeah. No, no
Rogue
reason
One
to be
more than
sorry.
Solo. But
They're both great, and I have no problem with fan service. Fan service gets a bad rap. Like
I
I
think it's
want
just if
fan
you're
service.
I want fan service. No,
I
I mean there's
do.
ways to
I
do it
eat
and
it
ways to
up.
not do it. I think the fan service in like Rise of Skywalker again was like too much, or they tried to be too forthcoming with it, and it like rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. It's like, oh, you're trying too hard. Um, but with Rogue One, with this last season of Clone Wars, chef's kiss. It was just excellent. I don't know. It's that same
Yeah.
brand of like fan service where it's slight enough. Um, sometimes it's not slight. Sometimes it's very much in your face, but I appreciate it.
I I mean, what is fan service? I mean, I don't know. Like, is it fan
And it
service
isn't
to
lost
have?
on people.
Uh,
Go ahead.
oh, is it fan service to have Ahsoka just like kick ass? In these last couple episodes,
Yeah.
Ahsoka did some amazing things in these last few episodes. And how about shoving Dryden Voss into the in that hologram there in the sewer with Maul? I mean, that was fantastic.
So good.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
more fans.
it's good fan service if you don't if anyone can appreciate it. For example, anyone can appreciate Ahsoka like making Rex snap out of it and making him like fight back Order 66. And you know that line, the force is with I'm one with the force, of course. Not anyone can appreciate that line, and it'll still have a special meaning regardless or not whether you watched Rogue One. The fan
Hmm.
service relies on you to know all of these little like inside jokes or like empty hole like plot holes from a past movie, then you're trying too hard because then it's gonna fly over a lot of people's heads or not
Yeah.
make an impact.
Well, here's a big one that divides people in in the prequels when they're building the Death Star, and you see the Death Star hologram in the background, but then he like picks it up, brings it in his hand, and like shoves it into the camera's face. Like some people have a problem with that. I'm kind of okay with that
I'm stoked to
because
see the early versions of
right.
the Death Star, like the
Thank
half-built
you.
Death Star. Like, yes.
Yeah, and just because he like puts it in front of the camera and says, "See, Death Star, look at that, huh?" I'm okay with that because look, come on, you got to appeal to people who may not have caught that. It doesn't need to be subtle. I don't mind being in your face with some of that, like in Rogue One, seeing Dr. Evazan, I always get his name wrong, and Panda Baba on the street. I'm totally cool
Yeah.
with that. Like totally, even though they must have really hightailed it off of that planet in order to survive and get over to Tatooine in time. But who cares? Who cares? Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
there's a fine line
Clone
between, I guess,
Wars,
Easter eggs and fan service and stuff. Yeah.
right? Yeah, Clone Wars is everything I could have ever wanted. And I haven't seen all of Clone Wars. Like I told you, I haven't actually seen all of Rebels. But it's I don't see that as I'm like more content to watch forever.
Yeah, go for
That's
it.
why
What are you
like all these
doing?
new series. Hmm?
Yeah. Oh, what are you doing watching the films again? Go finish off your animated series. Come on.
That's one thing that I really like about Disney Plus. It's all there, and I don't have to shuffle all of my obscure DVDs. And it just
Yeah.
makes it very easy, even if like you're just like doing stuff around the house. I just like having something Star Wars playing in the back.
Yeah.
Whether for like the ambient music or something, I just always like having it.
Well, I'll
But
be honest. Like
yeah,
that's how I originally consumed Clone Wars. It was more of a on. Okay, I'm kind of half paying attention. Then I was like,
like
whoa, this
passive
is
viewing.
good.
Yeah, that's what happened
Yeah,
with
because I
Rebels. I'm like, oh, I want something to fall asleep to at night, and then I just didn't sleep. I just ended up watching like entire like just binge watching episodes.
yeah. Um, I think one of the last things I need to say about it is I just think they gave us first of all, Ashley Eckstein, kudos to her. Um,
Yeah,
the emotion she always voices Ahsoka with, but in these last four episodes, the emotion she had in her acting was just above and beyond. I mean, she really pushed it to the limit, and
I
I,
think
that was amazing.
I think Ahsoka's one of the, if not the best developed characters in the entire Star Wars like universe.
Hmm.
You
No, no
see
doubt. I mean,
her,
but she's been given the most time too.
yeah, but like
Well, I guess for Anakin, but
ironically, the most time, but like the most, the most time, but like not a lot of people still don't know about Ahsoka, or like
right.
she's still kind of like a cult favorite, like which it's still like a very popular cult favorite. You saw how quickly all those like the Ahsoka merch sold out on like her universe and Shop Disney. People want more Ahsoka. That's why they're bringing her to the Mandalorian,
Hmm.
because they can, and because it's gonna bring in a whole new series, like set of like fans that like I want to see Ahsoka. And I think if you look at the earlier episodes of Clone Wars, spanning through to now, like the end of Clone Wars, and then in Rebels, they actually did a great job of like aging her appropriately. Like you see her
Hmm.
as like a young kid, and then she's like this teenage brat, and then now she's like developing into like a young adult. And then on Rebels, she's like this wise, adult to Gruta woman. But like they're doing
Yeah.
it fairly well. It's incredible. That's like my only gripe about like the prequels, that like Padme just doesn't age. Padme's the same age all of the three movies.
She does, yeah. That's a really that was a
Which is easier
really
to do as like an
lacking part of the
animated character.
prequels,
Yeah.
right? But I mean, she doesn't really have any growth. She's strong from the beginning, who she is,
Yeah,
but
no.
then she doesn't have any real growth. In fact, she just almost recedes into this, pregnant chick Anakin knocked up. I mean,
Stop.
really, no. She
Oh,
she
Annie, I
she
want to
really,
go
her
back to
character
the
really
home.
fades back, and she gets almost weaker. Which, I mean, unless you're gonna give her some kind of real storyline and development, that's the only place you can go because she starts in such a strong spot. Um,
Yeah.
and I'd really recommend you reading the Padme book. It's not
I just
amazing, but
downloaded it. It's available
it's
for free to download
oh
on
right,
Amazon and Disney Books, but I think until the 14th. So if you're watching this and you want to read the um, Padme like backstory novel, it is available for free just for May the 4th like celebrations.
that's awesome.
So I
Yeah,
have
no,
it. It's in my Kindle.
I have the hard copy and the audiobook. It's good. You learn a lot about her character, and it really builds her character. So yeah. I wish there was more about her. And I thought there was more with her in Rebels. And for some reason, I remember there being more of her, but there's not as much as I thought in in Rebels. And someone said, yeah, there's another Padme book coming out later this year, I think.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
So
Mandy's
yeah.
like,
Anything
notice
else
the
about
free book
on
isn't
that?
on the Shop Disney website. Mandy, nothing's on the Shop Disney website. If you want to buy anything
Yeah.
from Shop Disney, you're gonna have to wait 5 hours for it and refresh the page about 10 times and enter your payment information about 12 times and hope it goes through.
I kind of kick
But
myself
yeah,
for giving up. I might have gotten those ears. I don't know.
no, the years from what I saw was just down the line impossible. I managed to get a set of
Oh,
keys. When I messaged you, it was like 2 o'clock or something. It was weird. I was like,
yeah.
suddenly the page just loaded for me and it let me check out. It got
Weird.
to the point where normally on like most of my online shopping things, I try to like maximize a discount, get my free shipping. For that, when like the state of affairs on Shop Disney, I just like just check out. I'll pay whatever it takes. It's fine.
Right. That's what I was trying to do. I don't know, but I
You
guess
know,
the mugs you could back order now. Is that still a
the
thing?
mugs are on back order. Yes, I got the Best Fin mug right
Okay.
before they went on back order, so I might get it soon
Oh,
eventually, maybe.
God. I really am awful at these things. Like I was trying for hours, and then of course when I decide to close all my windows, everybody's like, "Ooh, ooh, look,
Go
we're
get
getting
it.
through and refresh," and I'm like, "Oh, and so I went back in and like
Yeah,
it wasn't working. I got the Yoda plush. That's all I got.
the Ahsoka ears were actually partially like the one of the designers of the Ahsoka ears is actually the artist behind Wishables.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
I'm like
Maria
blanking out her name.
Clapsis?
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah,
love
she helped
her. She's
design the
my
ears.
absolute
Yes,
favorite. I didn't know. I'm even more pissed I don't have them.
she
I get
posted it
all
on
her
her
stuff.
Instagram. Yeah,
Oh,
I love Wishables, and I know her for that. And then I saw it on her Instagram. I'm
yeah.
like, no wonder they look so great.
Well, I know her for Vinylmation. Speaking of the
Yeah.
thing, the Disney
Sadly.
characters as yeah. No, it's Leia.
Leia? Oh my god.
Yeah, Luke and Leia, and she did
Yes,
all these.
I respect your love for Vinylmations. I will never understand Vinylmations. To me, they are just the most, like, the ugliest design. The detail on them is incredible, and just, oh my god, I
So
love all
good.
these like crossover characters.
I
Yoda
know the
Stitch is my
crossovers are the
favorite.
best. Why did they stop with? Why did they stop with the crossovers? I never get that. There's
Because
Stitches
we
the
need to
Emperor.
respect the story now. No, I
But
love.
yeah,
I think like I.
I don't know. Maria did all my best stuff, my favorite stuff. Like I have a whole case, like a shadow box full of her Vinylmation, her
That's amazing.
wishables. Yeah, she was always
Yeah.
okay. She's the nicest person too. Interviewed her a bunch of times, and she's just the super nicest person. Anyway, so yes.
Sorry.
Anything else about the Clone Wars
Anything else about the Clone Wars?
before we move on? All right, so originally I just wanted to have super fun discussions about like Star Wars moments, right? So, you know, a lot of people
Oh
like
wait,
look ranking what? Oh yeah, something else?
I just thought of something that I wanted to talk about the
Please.
Clone Wars.
Yeah,
And you might
this is the right
appreciate
show.
this. I don't, I don't know what his name is. I retweeted some stuff like some concept art early on. So one of the I love the little trio of droids that like accompany them in this whole last scene, this whole last episode, like the last
Oh,
episode and a
I
half.
wanted to cry when they got shot. Like, oh,
Yes, I'm like no, the
oh,
biggest loss of like Order 66. Um,
I know.
but one of them is supposedly like one of the early developed, like early concept developments of Chopper, and I was like, he sounds just like Chopper. He has a little crane arm,
Yeah.
and that was apparently like an initial design for Chopper. It was like the predecessor to Chopper, and I was like, yes, I love that. This is what I want.
Wow.
Yeah, they were so great. Honestly, like there was a lack of there was a lack of like characters because at one point it's just Ahsoka, Rex, Maul every now and then when he pops up, and then like
Hmm.
just army of clones. So the droids, as always, they add a lot of character to like scenes, and not only are they there for like a comedic like respite, they're also like great. Like they get stuff done.
Oh, I
Like
know.
I was thinking of like heroic moments. I'm like, can I make one of my heroic moments just every time R2 like saves everyone, just casually, because that's what he's programmed to do. Like, but
Well,
yeah,
yeah, you'll see some of mine. Mine are some of tongue in cheek, maybe.
yes,
Um,
but yeah, I just wanted to do a shout out for those little droids because they were
that's
great.
awesome.
Pure
I had
fun
no idea.
and
That
yes.
I'm glad you told me that. That's really cool because I was like, yeah, that totally sounds like Chopper in the arm and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, this, I'm getting such Chopper vibes, but like, I know this can't be a coincidence. They're doing all these like fun ties to other things. He sounds just like Chopper. Yeah, it was like an early Chopper.
Well, that's the other thing. I don't have any examples off my top of my head. Well, I think they had the original C-3PO type model in Rebels, maybe, or maybe it was in both. The animated series has been really good at doing a lot of like concept art stuff and putting it
Yeah.
into like Ralph McQuarrie concept art stuff and putting it into the animated show. A lot of old designs. So, as I was saying, I wanted to have fun Star Wars discussions, and ranking the films to me is like whatever. You know, all fans can have their own rankings. So who am I to say
Right?
what film is better than the other? Come on,
I can't
and I
imagine.
have two.
What was the ranking that you and Tom came to? Again, like you and Tom in my head, I
Oh
really
no,
just mean Tom. I think that
I
was his
didn't
like
write it
list.
down. I didn't write it down. I mean, it was like basically worst film, Rogue One, next verse film, Solo, next verse film, Phantom Menace, next verse. It was all the prequels down at the bottom. I think
Prequels.
I do think he put Rise of Skywalker right down there at the bottom too, and then of course it was the original trilogy 1, 2, and 3. I have two lists. Like one is my favorites, and one is my all right. If I'm trying to as objectively as possible look at the films, but that's a bunch of crap. Who cares? Like, you just like the films. Like, you like what you like. But what I can do is I can tell you what are the best moments in in the saga definitively. It's a scientific process. I thought it would be fun because it would elicit conversation. Originally, I was going to do top hero moments on May the 4th, top villain moments on Revenge of the 5th, but Tom took over my May the 4th show. So
that's why we can't have nice things.
So be it. So be it. So anyway, so what it is, I have no idea how we're going to do this. We could each kind of go back and forth. We could talk about things. I don't even have a solid number. I think I have 12 on the hero side and 11 on the villain side. We can just run down them, talk about them, see which ones we're missing. But I'll start off. This is, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so this is actually number 13. Why not? R2 escapes with the plans in New Hope. All right.
Yes!
That little droid, he had so much determination. He is one of the biggest heroes of the entire saga.
Yes.
Because of what he did there.
Saving everyone.
Right? I mean, there's lots of moments where R2 is saving the day. The trash compactor, lighting those battle droids on fire with his torch legs, and I mean, come on, he's awesome. So you had R2 moments on your list? I don't know.
Yeah, but again, just a handful of moments, every moment that he just happens to, he's almost a trope, right when anyone's about to die, R2 shows up and saves the day. But yeah, I think the droids, shows that the droids are there for more than just the purpose of cute little robots or comedic relief. They're actually big players in terms of their role within the whole story.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if they hadn't, isn't it in the Phantom Menace that he manages to fix? Is it in that one? So many times he manages to fix things on the spacecraft, and I'm thinking, if this hadn't been fixed, they'd just all die, and none of this would even happen.
Yep. I mean, he saves
the plans.
He saves his buddy C-3PO and Geonosis. One of my favorite scenes is when he's in the opening scene of Sith, when he is fighting those little droids, those little vulture droids that are on Anakin's ship, and he's and Anakin's like, get him, shoot him in the eye, and then
yeah, which is why if you follow along, it's so. I was watching A New Hope again, and that scene with the Jawas and stuff, and I'm he's like, yeah, we're just gonna leave him behind. It's fine. And I'm like, no, you can't leave him alone.
So I have to bring this up. Right?
So dumb.
Buzz droids, not vulture droids. Thank you for the correction there. I appreciate it. I knew that. I knew I'd get corrected. Droids. I love how I could just be wrong with the YouTube chat coming up because they always correct me right away. It's great. It's instant feedback. I love it because I'm wrong so often. Joel wrote about C-3PO. C-3PO was a god to the Ewoks, and that's funny. I almost had that on my list. And
if they didn't have 3CPO,
So let me give you a little insight here. This is why you need to read the novelizations of all the movies. When they do that scene in Rise of Skywalker, where you see the Ewoks bringing down the ship, the Ewoks it's Wicket and his son, and they're talking to themselves. It's either they're talking to themselves or they're thinking. I forget the way they did it, but they wrote in the book that they know that was the golden god C-3PO bringing doing
They
that.
had heard it
They
passed
know he had
down
to.
through
Yeah.
lore. Oh
Well,
my
no,
god.
Wicket would have been there
Right.
and seen C-3PO, and they passed it down to his son. They, yeah, they knew that it was C-3PO that had a hand in that. So, which he did, which honestly he did. He was a big, huge part of that. So, next on my list was rescuing the Chancellor at the beginning
Remember
of
when you
Revenge
could
of the
meet
Sith.
Ewoks?
Yeah, we still can at a Run Disney event.
Remember when you could meet Ewoks and Jawas?
Yeah, trading with the Jawas.
It's my favorite. I still have,
Yeah.
like, I would take stuff and, like, you know, I'm not really local, so I'd drive up from Miami, and at one point I told my parents about Jawa trading. And they're like, how does it work? And I'm like, well, you just give them random trinkets, and they decide what they want to keep, and they might trade you for something, but most of the time they might just also just take it. Because they didn't always have, like,
I
the
know.
character performers didn't always have stuff on them. Like, if you visited them early on in the day, they might not have trinkets. So at one point, my parents just started stowing away, like, random metal parts for me to take to Disney in, like, a
No,
Ziploc
that's
bag.
fantastic. Wow. Your parents are awesome.
Or, like, I loved, like, meeting with the Jawas was my favorite part of, like, any Hollywood Studios trip. So sometimes I'd, like, just buy them stuff. Like, I'd be, like, at Walmart or something, and I saw, like, some, like, cheap, like, Star Wars Hot Wheels for, like, $2. And I'm like, I'm gonna make us some Jawas day, and I would just take them little
I'm gonna make
die-cast
some
cars,
Jawas
and they
day.
love it. And I would just sing it sometimes again, like, sometimes I'm like, I give it to them and they give me back, like, a scrunchie or something. Like, here, go away.
Wow.
But I loved it. I loved how mean they were. They're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. We got trades to make. Bye.
That's
But I
so
liked it because
good.
it was very authentic. Sometimes they just take
Wow.
stuff from guests. It was pretty hilarious. Obviously, eventually they'd give it back, but, like, if someone had, like, a pen or something, they just take it. There was
Yeah.
no. It was great. Anyway, I'm sorry. I just had to have this aside about Jawa trading.
No. Like, I mean, I so miss the Star Wars weekends with all that fun. I mean, ugh.
It was just madness. Sometimes they want to prove that it was metal and therefore, like, worth them using for, like, scrap metal. So they just find a random pole and just start hitting something with metal. Like, they just be like, sorry, that's really bad. But, like, again, this is happening in, like, a controlled environment, and, like, the rules just went out the door. That's what I loved about it. There was no lying to meet the Jawas. They didn't have to, like, humor you if they didn't feel like talking to you, which happened to me sometimes. I would be super excited and then they just ignore me, but that was part of the thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was just saying my next moment was the rescuing the Chancellor at the beginning of Sith. I mean, that whole scene with them. First of all, rescuing him, and then they travel through the ship that's coming down, and then landing the ship. Another happy landing is one of my favorite lines.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, I'm like, it's incredible when you're part of the government and you can just crash something. It's like, oh, there's infinite amount of money. Let's just fix it. Which is also,
just fix it.
You know, kind of like showing how bad, like, the Jedi and, like, the Senate were, that they just had unlimited resources.
Oh, totally. They didn't care.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, you never think about that. It's like a
my...
government ship.
Yeah, I was like, why are they so smug after, like, destroying the entire landing strip? And it's like, oh,
well, no, that would be
like,
that ship would be a separatist ship, I guess, actually. Yeah.
Right, but they still destroyed, like, the whole tower. It was crashed and everything. They destroyed the whole place, but they're like, oh, another happy
happy landing.
Yeah.
Another happy landing. Yeah, I love it.
Obi-Wan's line.
Obi-Wan's the best.
I'm so excited for, like, the Obi-Wan series, but only if Ewan McGregor does it, which he is. And
he is. They better get a good writer. Yeah.
they gotta give him all these like cheeky one-liner things. Um, but yeah, so let me riff off of like some of your selections. Um, One of my favorite villain moments, and if you think about it, this just took place shortly before R2 runs away with the plans to destroy the Death Star, and it's from Rogue
Mhm.
One. I don't know if I'm kicking off too strong here, but it is one
That
of
was
the most epic, horrible, frightening moments. And it's the moment where Darth Vader arrives on the ship. And it's like one of the
yeah.
hallway moments, which is something I loved from Clone Wars because Maul had a similar like hallway moment where it's just him, a hallway full of like clones and or like people, and
Oh
he's just
gosh.
like yeah, you saw the parallel between
When
that. I was like,
Maul was
what does this
destroying
remind me of?
everything, yeah, I totally thought of
I was
Vader.
like,
He's just like, you go
I was
there,
like,
you go there. I'm gonna grab this. Boom, boom, boom,
I was like,
boom.
what is this? I tweeted about it. I'm like, why am I aroused right now? This is this is so weird. But yeah, I was like, they're again, they're I think they were trying to draw a parallel with that scene in Rogue One, and it's just such an it's the end of the movie, so like I'm like, well, everyone died. What else can happen? But then
Mhm.
that scene happens, and I'm like, oh no! And it was just you can imagine the sheer terror of these people as like this guy in a mask just comes out of nowhere with a lightsaber and just starts force choking everyone and throwing everyone around, and the
Yep.
doors like jammed, so there's no way out. It's just absolutely terrifying, and it's so well done. And again, you feel the like unchecked power that Darth Vader has, and then like how helpless and like futile it is to like try to even escape. But they managed to do it. They managed to pass off the little like file, but it's still
A floppy
horrifying.
disk, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The USB drive, I don't know, whatever it was. It's
So
it's
that's one of my
funny.
favorite scenes.
I I really hate when people hate on that scene, saying like, "Oh, it's
Why? What
unrealistic
did?
that he's that agile." Like 2 minutes before, he looked so stiff in New Hope, and it's like, shut up, get out of here. I want to see Darth Vader kick ass. Maybe he got tired because he did all that in the
I don't
hallway.
know.
Now we
I
know
think
why it was so
if
slow.
he might have still been friend. Like I don't know.
I don't need
I was just trying to.
explanation for it. I really don't. Like
There's
it's whatever.
when you think about it, Anakin then Darth Vader pretty much just lived in constant pain shortly after he was basically just like re like forged into this half robotic suit. you know
Yeah.
if you thought the like hand was bad, it's your whole body. And just the labored breathing isn't just a meme or a joke. It's like he probably was always like struggling to breathe because half of his body was like on like essentially life support in the form of like this whole suit. Um, but again, I don't know. I don't care if it's like you said. I'm like I don't care if it doesn't make sense with how stiff he was in New Hope. It's absolutely
Right.
terrifying. It's one of the best scenes. Um, it's just raw, like sad. It's incredible. Again, like I don't know. I saw Rogue One. I didn't see it when it came out in the movies. I actually saw it like a few years ago. Like I rented it on Redbox or something. So I didn't know what to think. And again, it just got in such bad like sweeping bad reviews. Like oh, it's not great. So I had no expectations. So I just go into it watching. I'm like, oh my god, what?
It was
um,
gritty. Yeah.
so that's one of my favorite like villain moments. It's if you want to talk about like unchecked power and like rage, there you have it. And then what was it? There's another. Oh, so again, right before they rescue the Chancellor, when he just is that when it happens? He just kills Dooku.
Anakin chopping. Oh, the chopping off of the
Yeah,
head. I have
the
that's on my
chop.
list. I mean,
That's one of my favorite moments, and it's still to this day. How many times have I seen that movie? and and he just, all of a sudden he's like, yeah, just kill him. And Anakin's like, wait, what? And
Yeah.
that was ultimately, oh, that was like a test. That was Palpatine seeing, like, does this guy have what it takes? And that's when he's like, yep, he's got it.
Oh, yeah. When Palpatine saw that, you could see he was like drooling. Like
He's
he's like,
like,
oh,
got him.
yes, this dude.
Um,
He chopped his head off like two lightsabers, like a scissors.
yeah, like,
Uh,
it's just, and you see that he wavers. He's like, I probably shouldn't be doing this. And he's like, no, bro, just do it. Which is
yeah.
also one of the greatest lines and like most memeable things that ever came out of that movie. It's funny, like because of like Obi-Wan being knocked out, I don't think he ever gets to like fully process what happened.
No, I don't think he does. No.
Because normally I feel like he would have had his like talking to, and then he just was knocked out. He's like, "What happened?" He's like, "Oh, we're crashing."
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so much went on, and like because Obi-Wan never got to know what really happened. I mean, he's just like, yeah, no, I executed Dooku and I got the Chancellor. Okay, yay. There was no real heavy debriefing.
Yeah. No, and
So,
I love that you got to see some of that like recruitment that he went through, trying to pick
mm,
who was gonna be like the next like Sith Lord. You saw that he tried out Maul, tried out Dooku, tried out all these guys, and like none of them had what it takes.
um, and then that like the whole recruitment thing, and you know, get his pushing Anakin to the dark side. I think that's why uh, the what do you call it, the opera scene, I guess, or whatever it is, the Mon Calamari ballet, where they're in the where he's telling them about Darth Plagueis, right, in the
Yeah.
theater, and he's like,
Darth
not
Vader.
from a
Darth
Jedi.
Vader is so wise.
Oh, I tell you about Darth Plagueis.
And he
The
takes
story
advantage
of
and he's
Darth
in a very
Plagueis.
vulnerable state. It's incredible. Like he's like, this guy's terrified. His, baby mama's about to die.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Not
get
from a
him.
Jedi. It's one of my favorite scenes, and the way Ian delivers it is
Yeah,
just mind blowing. Yeah. So that's one of my all time favorite villain scenes right there.
the Darth Vegas, which isn't it like the theory? I don't know enough about this. It's like, isn't the theory that he was Darth Vegas's like apprentice and he was the one who killed him?
Right. Yep.
That's like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Joel's bringing up that all his apprentices were actually tools to get him to Anakin, and I mean, yeah. I mean, look, depends on what
This,
you want to believe. I mean, the Emperor supposedly knew the whole entire thing. Everything was by plan. All right, sure, that's probably true. So, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with the dude. He did a good job of building this empire. So, I'm not going to disagree with how he
yeah,
did
like
it. I mean, look,
he manipulated Padme like into gaining more power in the Senate, and then eventually gaining more and more power, gaining over the Jedi Council. Is
like,
one thing
and
I
again,
don't
when you,
get.
okay,
This isn't a moment. I think I'm veering away, but something I've seen a
yeah,
lot in recent. I just want to get your take on this. I've seen a lot of tweets of like Darth Mace Windu. Everyone hate. Apparent. I've never known this. For me, growing up, Mace Windu was one of the coolest Jedi because it was Samuel L. Jackson, and I get that like he and Anakin butted heads a lot, but it's because Anakin was really arrogant and like so he needed to be checked, which Obi-Wan was too soft to really properly do. Um so apparently there's like a bunch of people who are like, oh, Mace Windu's the reason why like all this happened. Had he listened to Anakin earlier, like things would have been better. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't get the sudden hate, or maybe it's not sudden. Maybe it's people who have not been a fan of Mace Windu for a while. I've just been unbeknownst to me.
Well,
This is
it's
why I'm getting
definitely
hate.
so. No, and that could take us down a huge rabbit hole, depending on how far we want to go, because that is a pivotal thing. Because look, I think everything is better if you kind of meet in some happy center, happy medium. But I think really that's what's so tragic about looking at the story in the prequels, because if realistically Anakin was screaming out for help and trying to do the right thing for the most part, yes, he did some horrible things that then threw him over the edge, and he was manipulated over the edge because the Jedi were too far swinging the other direction. And that's what
Yeah.
George Lucas wanted to portray. That look at what happens when this gets way out of control and so arrogant and so thinking that they know everything, and they're so bullheaded about it, and they swung so far one direction that Anakin, who was trying to be a source of reason and get people to understand what was going on, he was able to be swung the other direction by a master manipulator, because Palpatine knew the whole story and was able to manipulate it. The Jedi only knew a portion of the story. So
That's
to
true.
really answer your question a little bit more, I mean, there are a lot of people who think that Mace Windu was kind of we know the whole story, but if you looked at it from their point of view, Mace Windu was very extreme and really trying to overthrow the government. And Yoda even makes the comment, "This is a dangerous path." And it's replayed in the Clone Wars. That was amazing when they replayed that side of the hologram. Then all of a sudden, oh, what happened after that? Oh, Ahsoka walked in. We didn't get to see that in Revenge of the Sith. All right,
I love
but
that. I love that over them.
oh, that was so good, right?
When I saw it, I'm like, I'm not ready. I'm not emotionally ready to relive this again.
So Mace Windu is really trying to overthrow the established government. I mean, he's committing treason in some people's eyes there. So what you're talking about? So I mean, what you're talking about? I mean, it's actually pretty relevant depending on how you're looking at it, from a certain point of view, as they say.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, I just wondered. I'm like, let's open up this discourse for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? You don't think Mace is too extreme?
I don't know whether
he's doing what he has to do.
Mace Windu. I do believe that at that point in the time period of Revenge of the Sith, at that point, the Jedi were just as much a political and military entity as the Senate itself. It had, and you can see, and like that's what you see a lot in like the Clone Wars in this last season. Like you see kind of like where their priorities are very like again, strategically involving themselves in things or not involving themselves in things, or like prioritizing again saving the Chancellor over the siege of Mandalore. Like they kind of wanted to like maintain this certain authority, even though they were supposed to be like neutral peacekeepers per se, like something that was supposed to be more so spiritual or like a ethical eventually became clearly just one-sided, or just which is what happened to Ahsoka as well. She rebelled against that like almost archaic system, which Anakin eventually did too, except he just instead of going rogue, he just like went the wrong way.
Yeah. Well, that's again, George did actually a great job at portraying exactly what he wanted to portray. This organization that got away from its ideals and got sucked up in kind of too lofty place and lofty power, and
Yeah, and they
that's
also
what
like
happened.
doesn't if anything came out of that arc that everyone hated, the Trace and Rafa arc, is that you got to
Oh
see
yeah.
what life was like if you weren't, in the upper echelons of the community. Like you got to see people that had been disenfranchised by the Jedi, and eventually just like, okay, figure it out, bye. Which is
Yeah,
like
it's
all the purpose.
interesting because all of Star Wars is really showing the main characters. Well, what's happening, to these
Right.
groups that like don't even know, and that's a big thing about Star Wars. I mean, the legends of like Luke Skywalker seem to get passed down, as we kind of see in Last Jedi, with kids having action figures and telling the story of Luke Skywalker and stuff like that. But you wonder how much of this battle do people really know about, and if you read a lot of the books and the comics and things like that, it goes into people being like, yeah, who was this terrorist group who blew up our government's spaceship?
Yeah.
Like that's what it could be spun like that, and that's what it could look like, and or oh, I don't know anything about that. That happened way over there. So you're right. Seeing how most people live with this stuff, like they don't know or care or think that the Jedi. They don't know what to think of the Jedi. They just see what they see on the holos, and like it's like, oh, they're terrorists. Okay.
Yeah.
Vincent, you're gonna have to rewind. Go look at last hour. Sorry,
Yeah,
we thought we.
sorry.
Fast forward past Toronto wraps, but then it gets good around minute 15 or 20. Then we start talking about the Clone Wars.
Yeah, eventually, once we
Unless you
get
want to hear
past
about the
the
Toronto.
glorified hot
Toronto
dog of
wraps are good
Galaxy's
too.
Edge.
Yes. All right, so I'm going to throw out a couple more of my favorite hero moments.
Go for it.
And when I say these are the ones they they just gave me chills. They were the wow factors like on the screen. I'm not necessarily always talking about the bigger impact of the moment, um, but two of them are Yoda. There's from the Last Jedi. Yoda showing up to help Luke when we saw Yoda's Force Ghost, because I was just like hoping, like, come on, we
Yeah.
gotta have a Force Ghost. We gotta have a Force Ghost. And
God,
when
give me
Yoda
just
shows
one
up,
Force Ghost.
yeah, and Yoda's speech is amazing. And then the Holo maneuver when she light speeds past
Yes.
through the ship. Both of those things. Now, did you think the speakers were broke in your theater? Like I heard a lot of people think that they thought the speakers
Um,
went out. It just goes
I think
silent. Love it.
for that film, I think I actually saw it on the cruise line, and it was a few
Oh,
weeks after it had come out. No, it was actually like a horrible experience. I have to rewatch all of
oh
that whole
man.
like Age of Resistance trilogy just because I got to see them like very pieced together. I like pretty much how it happened with all the other movies for a long time, and so got really dedicated about watching them.
Mm.
Um, but again, it had been a few weeks, so it wasn't exactly the newest movie. So they showed it that night at like the main theater in the cruise. But then like everyone kind of seen it, and like there were just no one was kind of quiet or respectful of like the movie. And I haven't gone back and seen it
Yeah, I can
again.
imagine. Oh, okay. No, that's
so
fine. I mean,
so especially detailing whether the speakers went out, the whole experience was horrible. I couldn't hear well half the time
uh,
because everyone was talking. Um,
it's just
it
funny
also
because it goes
wasn't the
silent, and then you
oh,
see the ship
I
go
vaguely
through,
remember
and
that.
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, but I love those two scenes. Another one on my list, you got to have the hero C-3PO when he decides to have his mind wiped and go along with it. It saves the day. I love that. I love his little speech, taking one last look at my friends. I love that. That line
Oh, it was
gets
too
me all the
much for
time.
me. But again, in
C-3PO
that
is the
whole
best.
uh, my main gripe with that movie is that it does that thing so many times where like, oh, he's gonna lose his whole memory. Oh, just kidding, he gets it back. Like it. They held us for too many
Uh,
moments like that.
yeah, I'm okay with it because I knew, yeah, you knew it wasn't going to be it. You knew Archie was going to give him his memory back. He just, yeah. But still, it gets me. I like it. C3PO, but he doesn't know that in the moment. We know that. He doesn't know that. And he's
He does no,
sacrificing
and it's
himself.
still super sad. Yeah. Um, Let me see. Bad how I can only think of like the bad scenes, like the evil scenes. It is Revenge of the
Throw me out
Fifth
some
after
bad
all.
scenes.
I don't know.
Throw
I'm
out some
trying to
bad
think.
ones. Go for it.
I'm trying to think right now.
Um, I got sad. Like we were talking about Mace Windu. On my list is when Palpatine tosses Mace Windu out the window because like it's just
That's
like,
so crazy.
dude, it is because that's just like his evil. Like I'm done.
I
You
hate the
know.
whole like help me, I'm so weak, unlimited power. I'm like, bro, decide either you're unlimited power or you're like a feeble old man, but you can't be both because you're being really
He
annoying.
can because he's Ian McDermott and he can chew any
He
scenery
can,
he
yeah.
wants, and like it is the epitome of just like overacting in a good way that like is just so perfect for that role.
Yeah. Speaking of Emperor Palpatine, uh, let's go to. I'm thinking of when he dies, when he actually dies.
Which time?
um, Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Basically, when you know, again, the one guy he's managed. I mean, he's managed to manipulate a ton of people, but the guy he managed to manipulate his whole life. Darth Vader finally kind of coming to his senses. Maybe like I don't know. He just saw his son there. He just saw Luke getting like completely got, and he's like, I don't know what kind of thought process he's even though he did that horrible like no which has been immortalized
Well,
in like some of the earliest memes. I remember it being like 2006, and there were memes about that like
you talking
about
to
that
no
like no.
from Return of the Jedi?
Yeah,
Yeah, because that was added in later.
I know.
that was added. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's so
That dude
bad.
was so bad. But again, realizing that, again, he's in the suit. It's basically his life support. You have this guy doing the full electricity deal on Luke, and he's like, my son's gonna die. If I come near this, it's gonna destroy my suit, but I'm gonna sacrifice myself and put an end to this, because it's madness. And him just throwing him down. What is it like the? I don't know. It's just a giant
Reactor
pit.
shaft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, that whole scene is, think of how many years have led up to this moment. For him to actually finally decide enough is enough, um, and have that moment of peace where he's also ends up dying and but has that moment, takes off the mask. I think that was a huge moment overall. Like for a lot of people, you know, if you from these movies, you only saw Darth Vader with the mask. There was no,
Hmm.
you saw glimpses of him, but again, this was a him at his most vulnerable, and there was no real backstory. So all of a sudden, you didn't know like, oh, this is Anakin. You did, but again, there wasn't all like this whole other trilogy like explaining how he came to
Yeah.
become this menacing horde. But like when I was a kid and I saw Darth Vader before the prequels, I was like, bad guy. He is
Oh
bad.
yeah.
He was just a very
I mean
unilateral
that's
character.
yep. Yeah.
So
It
seeing
didn't
him have
have
that moment of
much depth.
vulnerability and like, yeah, yeah, even though he was still
He's just a bad
terrifying,
guy.
Yeah, just great at like plotting and like military strategy and all that, but like otherwise that was just his that was it. Um, so seeing him be vulnerable and finally come together with his son and have that moment of like being with like even though he like doesn't have hair like just dies, but seeing him without like just I don't know, just, it was like a big release. It's a big moment, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. It just ruined the best moment of all Star Wars. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. I'm out.
Spoilers, yes. And then Kylo goes and finds his helmet. Kind of,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, kind of like Ring Theory, like Vader found Ahsoka's lightsaber. I don't know.
Yeah. That's kind of a cool thing, like the
Uh,
essence of like all these found items.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's what's cool about some of the extended universe stuff. When you read about Palpatine being a like collector of Sith artifacts and like having this like storage of all these artifacts and stuff, and thinking that the Sith were collectors of this stuff possibly. And I'd love the story of like Luke looking around for the um, Jedi artifacts and Jedi temples and stuff. That's a story I'd love
yeah.
to see in animated series. I'd love to see the between Return of the Jedi when that ended and Force Awakens, or leading up to that. So here, I'm going to give a couple of my hero moments again. We have Slave Leia killing Jabba the Hutt. One of my
Choking into
favorite
him.
moments. So good. That's so good. I
So
mean, it's
good.
so
That
powerful and
whole
so, like, yeah, the whole sail barge scene. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's one of my favorites. Then I have to give. So I still have the top four to go through, but this one just misses. And this one's a very new scene. It's happened in Rise of Skywalker, but it gives me chills every time. When I got the Blu-ray, I kept going back and watching that scene over and over again. When Lando shows up and,
Yeah.
uh, and you're not alone, and the music swells, and then there's just thousands and thousands of ships, and the Falcon flies up into the
Oh, that
camera
was like
view,
my
and it's
moment.
like, oof, oof,
I went
like come
I went
on.
with when I went to go see it, I was there with like Tom and Joe Hogarty, and like does all of our movie reviews. Um, Gordo is scratching something. So I didn't want to be that person. They're very stoic when they watch movies, and of course they hate everything.
Oh,
So
every
I don't want to be
like,
squealing about anything. Of course, like I'm not I'm not too much like that. But that scene you're describing, that was my like oh my god moment. Like
oh,
yeah, no, it was
so
great, and
much
like you
chill.
said, like the music swells and the whole situation, like the whole situation comes to like this huge peak, and it's very very emotional.
Yeah, they did steal that from Endgame when
Yeah.
Doctor
Oh,
Strange
true.
shows up with everybody. Yeah, yeah. Give that to you.
True.
I have some more villain moments. Um, Palpatine's spin move that he does when they're coming to arrest him. That like Sith spin move over his desk and just like that weird scream that it hears there. I don't even know what the hell that
Oh,
is.
I hate like
Oh,
guttural Palpatine. It's just so like, oh, you have grown so strong. I'm like, what?
oh, so good. But that spin move is fantastic for that old dude.
Gordo, what? Being
And
interrupted.
then a Vader scene with from Empire when Vader chokes Nita, and then says apology accepted. That is the best.
Oh,
That is
basically
so badass.
every force choke in that
Every force
trilogy.
choke. But
Every
it takes a
force
real
choke.
badass to force choke somebody and then say apology accepted. Like that's
What
that's the
is the
epitome.
scene where he's like, I always forget the names of all these generals, where he just force chokes a guy like via Zoom, via Zoom,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
through the telecom.
It's not Mahdi. That's Azel. Azel, I think. Yes.
So he's like
Yes.
tired of his incompetence, and he just force chokes him
And they
like through
promote
the
the kid
video
next to him,
conference.
right?
And then like
Yeah.
as he's talking to the other general, he's like, "You just gotta, like, you just got promoted. The other guy's dead."
Uh-huh.
That's just, and again, like again, they kind of, it's so evil, but it's the way it's all happening. It's so ridiculous. It's kind of very cheeky how it all happens. Um,
Well, I mean, do you like the line? See, because I think Vader has always had those cheesy lines, like those, but
yeah,
were great coming from
they're
him.
like,
And
oh,
so when he says, don't choke on your aspirations to Krennic when he's choking Krennic, I mean, I love that. Some people hate that, but I think that's
I
amazing.
love those. I think it's good writing, honestly. Like I don't care that it's like cheesy or like punny or
Yeah.
whatever. I think it's good. Yeah, all the force. I think right now I could watch like a force choke compilation and be very happy. Like it's like, oh, you need to stop adhering to all these like mystical beliefs, and he's like, what? Force choke.
Force choke.
Just everything's just force choke.
Mm.
Can't force choke my cat.
Aw.
Look
Well,
at
Gordo's having none of it.
he's so cute.
He's just looking like, what are you doing there? Is that food?
He's just
As long
gonna
as you
stare
feed
back at
me,
you.
you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Hero moment. I'm gonna go off the screen for a second and to Rise of the Resistance. Am I allowed?
Oh, yeah, yeah, of course you are.
Yeah. Um, um, Gordo's still staring. He's making me
I
uncomfortable.
know.
The the best hero moment, and it's probably one of the best hero moments because you're not just seeing it, you are living it, and it's at the end. Usually, usually the end of an attraction, sometimes it can be kind of an afterthought or just a segue into a gift shop. But with Rise of the Resistance, after that whole scene of events and like the drop and the whole deal, and all of a sudden you're coming through this like tunnel, especially if it's like during the daytime, all of a sudden it's light and you're coming through this
Yeah,
tunnel, and at the end, um, Lieutenant Beck is there, and you're like, where's Beck? And there's Beck. He made it, and it's just the most. And like, I think it's that feeling alone. I don't know. I just always release at least like one serotonin. But it's a great scene, and again, it's a Star Wars hero scene that you get to live and experience, and I think that's
yeah,
worth all the hoops that you have to jump to write it. Probably
yeah.
better. It's one of the best scenes in the entire. Even though it's the end scene, it's one of the best scenes in the entire attraction, in my opinion.
No, it is. I mean,
The villain
yeah,
scenes,
I don't want
the evil,
to
like
get
the
too off
villain
track,
scenes fall
but yeah,
flat because of the
that's.
crappy Kylo AAs,
I
but
know. But I mean, no, I mean, I mean, honestly, the two of the best scenes are when he's coming down the hallway at you with a lightsaber, and then when he's lightsabering into the top of your elevator, or whatever it is, the room there.
yeah,
Uh, I mean, those are you're not a fan of those two? The lightsaber coming down from the ceiling
bro, you see
that
like a
doesn't do anything.
little segment, like It looked
Ah,
cooler in the like in the promo video. They kind of like edited a little bit, so you don't obviously get to see the like little part of the roof that's like clearly where it's gonna come out from. It's a little
oh,
hokier in
get out of
person, but
here.
if
If you,
let me not be an
you're,
arrogant
yeah,
like pass holder. Um, it's interesting when you experience it the first time. It's just the second time, like, oh, there it
yeah.
is. Yep.
No,
Sometimes
I
it doesn't
totally agree.
work.
I agree with you there. If you're looking for it and your eyes are already there and you're, yes, you can nitpick that and see it. But I mean, the the effect is pretty damn good. Like that's yeah.
um,
No, that's a good one. That's a good one though.
yeah, I'm
I
I'm
like
like,
going
well,
outside.
if everything's game, if we're talking about like Clone Wars and everything, then
Well,
everything's game.
I mean, let's then talk about like getting to see like Princess Leia's hologram or something like that in Star Tours. I mean, that the first
Yeah,
time I saw that, I mean, you're there. I
that's
mean,
it. That's
come on. The adventures continue. I mean, like seeing those holograms, especially the Leia one, because that's the one from the movie, and so getting to see
right.
that and getting to see her, and it's like, wait, that's Princess Leia. She's talking to me right now. This is insane. Yeah, it's the same thing I get
I'm
when
on a
it looks it's
mission.
like Ray when Ray's talking to me at the Rise queue. I mean,
Yes.
that's mind blowing. Like our BB-8 comes out, and then Ray's there, and
No,
she's
that whole
physically
scene is
right there.
underrated.
She's right there. Yeah, I'm in the
Sometimes I get so
movie.
excited about what's to come, and then it's like I gloss over that part. But you're right; it's
Hmm.
absolutely like amazing, and the transport and the whole thing. Yeah, I love that transport. Let's see.
I mean, we're the heroes on that one. Yay.
Speaking since we spoke about the Mandalorian earlier, really good villain moment is just that whole end few episodes of like Moff Gideon trying to get to them while they're like hiding out, and then at the end, of course,
Oh,
Mandalorian spoiler. Um,
good call.
when great villain moment from again and Gordo, did you just bite my toe? Um, great villain moment where you think he's gone, you think Moff Gideon is dead, and out he comes with the dark saber. Um,
Yeah, because honestly, the way that
super mega
story,
cliffhanger.
the way those stories were going along, like I was like, okay, they could kill him, even though it's Giancarlo, and it's a big name actor. I guess they could just kill him and that
Yeah,
be it.
right.
Because
It seemed definitive.
yeah, it seemed reasonable that he could have just been a villain for that tiny story arc, just because of the way they killed other people in the show, and um, he really had no expectations. So yeah, yeah, no, I love that. Can we? I'm going to skip ahead to my biggest villain scene. I mean, I think
Oh, go for it.
we're dancing around the elephant in the room when Anakin slaughters a bunch of kids. Uh,
Oh no.
I mean, it's between
That's
blowing
another
up
thing where you're like,
Alderaan or killing a bunch of kids. Because I mean, you're killing a bunch of kids on Alderaan
Alderaan
too,
was
but it's
pretty big. But
yeah, but that's like way over
you
there.
didn't see the people on Alderaan
Right,
act like dying
right.
or like seconds before they died.
This one was like, Master, what are you doing here? Master, are you
Yeah,
here to
what
help
does he
us?
say?
I forget the
And
exact.
they
I'm sure
built
someone
up
in the
that
chat
one
knows it.
kid.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh, it was.
Master. I
Yeah,
forget what the yeah. It's
well, I forget
someone's
what he
gonna type it
says,
into the
but
chat. Someone find it for us. Thank you. Do our work for
um,
us.
um, yeah. Again, and people have like people always forget. I never forget. I'm like he killed all those younglings. Again, another great villain scene, killing all those sand people. Again, sand people made a little
Oh,
more
what are we
sense.
going to do? Is
I
that the line,
probably would have.
Master? What are we going to do?
I don't. Yeah, it was something like. we were doing our job, super not telling us what he says. Um, killing, yeah, like when he kills all the sand people in Attack of the Clones, you're like, well, if a bunch of these like horrible creatures had, essentially killed my mom, I probably, you're like, maybe I know I can see why Anakin slaughtered an entire colony of sand people
The
because
women
they
and the
killed his mom.
children.
Not just the men, the women and the children as well. Padme's just like, oh god.
Oh,
I think that's
what?
obviously like where like it was just so poorly written. She's like, oh, like
You did
my
what?
partner comes home, like, well, I don't have a partner as evidenced by the dating game, but if I saw
Wow.
your part, I just killed a bunch of like a whole colony of people, and I'm like, let me hug you. That's not gonna happen. Which is why I'm like, why Padme just be like, oh, you're so misunderstood.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's
But
what I mean. I
yes,
mean, I said this earlier in the show, like that Padme really becomes weak by the end, and I don't even think she puts up a. I mean, she goes and saves him, tries to save him on Mustafar, but I don't know. It just falls a little flat. She's too inconsistent by the end.
yeah. But yeah, the killing of the Padawans, and then when they revisit it, you're like, oh, that happened. Let's move on. And then you have Obi-Wan and Yoda back at the temple, like surveying what
Yeah.
happened. And Yoda's like, oh, he wasn't killed by like a blaster. This was done by a lightsaber. It's like, oh no.
Hmm.
It's like confirmed, there's no doubt what happened.
No, I mean that's painful for Obi-Wan. I mean, no wonder he goes into hiding.
They all do. Honestly, that's kind of um, they all go into hiding after that. It's kind of
Yeah.
sad. They all feel like inept. I would too. I mean, Yoda gave it his best, but he's still, you know,
All right, so we're getting towards the end. I just want to give my last few, my top hero moments.
okay.
Okay, Yoda facing Dooku.
Yes. I love
That
talking
when
about
that happened in the
animation.
theater. Well, no, this is no. I'm talking. What do you think? Oh, okay. Well, yeah. But when that happened in the theater, I was just like, you could hear people like yell and scream out. Over time, people got on this thing where it's like, oh, I don't like that, or that was weird, or whatever. But come on, when you saw that for the first time, your jaw hit the floor when Yoda
Because
walks out with a
until
cane, then
now,
picks up his lightsaber.
you hadn't seen that side of Yoda until pretty much until that scene, like Yoda packing heat, uh,
I
that
know.
reminds me of like another scene that I love, which is shortly after they in Revenge of the Sith, when right after they execute Order 66, and he's out there with the Wookiees, and like the one guard that he has, obviously they get the order, they're gonna go after just, and I'm like, oh, Yoda's there, he's just gonna get shot, like, and then he just turns around, just
Oh,
like beheads them both in the moment, like nothing gets past
yeah.
him because
Oh,
he's
I
Yoda.
know. Oh,
And
so
I was
good.
like, that
The
was
whole, like you
fast.
said, they played out the whole Order 66 scene so well in Revenge of the
That's
Sith. They really did.
Order
It lived up to
66 as a whole
expectations.
is one of the greatest like villain scenes because it's the culmination of this plan that took years to like execute. If you want to execute, but like years to plan, years to have all these clones created and grown up and like deployed. Have everyone else be none the wiser, basically, and then to just have that all play out so perfectly. There's nothing worse than those scenes like right when Order 66 happens, and like all of those scenes of like each Jedi Master from the Council like getting turned on in the moment, and I'm like, no, No, like you see them, and they play it out so well. Like they're all, and then like you see like you don't see anything, but like you, it's established that like the order they receive the order and it sets in their brain, or like if we're talking about chips or whatever, it activates in their brain, and they just automatically get to it. you know, um, and the way it just panned out over like regardless, didn't matter where you were, didn't matter who you were, like every Jedi was fair game. Doesn't matter if you were Yoda or
Yeah.
anything. It's just there's no rules.
Yep.
It's total annihilation.
So I put Luke's trench run at number 3 on my list. I think there's two scenes that I love more than that as like wow hero moments. All right, and number 2 is the Geonosis Battle, and I think this is why I love Attack of the Clones so much, because that whole Geonosis Battle is super fun. And
It's
this
so
is what I mean.
epic.
Like in Clones, Padme is still pretty kick ass up to this point, and then somewhere she just
Yeah.
loses it. So I really think it's just mostly in Sith where I have problems with her
Yeah, like you
character.
said, she just becomes like pregnant woman.
Yeah, like really. And I'm not trying
Oh,
to downplay her. I'm just saying that that's the way it was written, and it was weird. And George
I
Lucas
was
just
thinking
has an
about that.
awkwardness about him.
I mean, it's all, I'm like, do they? I was watching it again. I was watching it the day that the night that the finale came out, so May the 4th. I
Mhm.
mean, well, technically like the 3rd. It's all been one long day for me this whole week.
Right? Yeah, this whole week.
So and I'm like, is there like maternity leave for the Senate? Like, do you just do you know like
Well, she's
because
hiding it,
like
remember? So
all the scenes they just pan out to
yeah,
she's just there like, yep, just waiting for Anakin.
just
you know.
yep. I know. And those weird curls that she has at one point, like with the nightgown and those curls, it
they
makes her look
they
like
keep
she's
getting
like
crazier with the
13.
curls.
Yeah, so weird. But then, so everything, they kick ass. Then the clone, then the droid army surrounds them, and then Yoda shows up. Around the perimeter, the clone or the droids, you will, whatever, blah blah blah. I forgot the. Well, I'm bad at quoting things. Thank you, more Beverly, please. She just gave us a
Thank you
fifty
so
dollars
much.
super chat. Wow,
Can
look
I
at
just
that.
say that when you mentioned the youngling kill, like the younglings, and more Beverly said, it's like The Godfather. You gotta take care of the
Ha,
kids too.
ha.
That was great. Thank you so much, Beverly. That was amazing.
Nice,
Thank
nice.
you. I'm on here like,
So
man,
can
we
you guess?
suck. We haven't got any super chats.
Yeah, well, we're not like those other shows. We don't like ask you for money. Come on. But thank you very much. And anybody else, we're willing to accept it. I don't know where that money goes. I'll check my wallet after the show. I'll check my bank account. I don't know if some of it goes in there, whatever. But
It's for the
also this is a good
Republic.
moment to say go ahead and join the Wigs, and lots of good stuff if you join our Inner Globe Society. My last one, I'll throw this out there. My favorite scene in all of Star Wars. It's like the biggest wow moment. It's the biggest like yes moment. Is Han Solo showing back up in the Millennium Falcon in the trench run, shooting those TIE fighters out of the way, clearing the way for Luke. You're all clear,
Yeah.
kid. When the Falcon shows, I mean, every single time, I almost forget every single time that that's going to happen. And it's like, oh yeah, woo, go Luke, go Han.
All of the trench
That is it.
scenes, like, they're so good.
But that is it. The Han Solo trench run scene, in the trench run. That's my favorite. Best.
Very good. Honestly, we've pretty much like overlapped on a lot of them, like
Yeah.
built on a lot of the ones you mentioned. Um, yeah, there's so many. Again, like, and we haven't even scratched the surface. I haven't even gotten on my like Kanan rant with rebels and stuff.
Oh, well,
But
we'll
yeah,
have to have another Star Wars show.
much to Tom's chagrin, we might just have to have another Star Wars show.
I mean, it
Um,
looks like we're going to be continuing this WDWNT live thing for a little while longer, right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, we can't go to mainland China to cover Shanghai Disney, so we're stuck here for a few more months.
Mm-hmm. I guess
Yeah.
so. Should I get Ahsoka to say
So many
goodbye to
good
everybody?
scenes.
Let me go
Yeah.
grab Ahsoka. She wants to say goodbye to everybody. Hold on.
Oh, it's only right. Is there a pug? Nick, we have another donation. Pat MC75, who not only has been correcting us the entire evening, has also donated $19.99 to the cause.
I don't think she's happy about this.
Oh no!
Hi.
Is she snortling?
A little bit. She always snortles.
I love pug sounds. Just... Oh no!
Come on.
She's not. She is not one with the Force.
There we
Pugs
go.
just look like terror dogs to me.
Oh, thank you, Pat. Nick75.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Look, you can knock everything down.
Oh, wait. I was like, not only did Pat, correct us all evening. Gordo's still
So, all right, she wants none of this, but...
Gordo is grooming himself. Look at that. If there's ever any doubt about the sheer girth of my cat,
What are you doing? All right. Well, I think that's
fat
it.
Animals.
So, thank you to everybody for joining us today on Revenge of the Fifth. Let me... She just wants down. Okay.
What do we have tomorrow?
Yeah,
so tomorrow morning, while Nick is wrangling his pug, tomorrow morning we have...
she doesn't like it in this room. I don't...
Tomorrow morning we have Tokyo Disney watch-alongs. That's with Tom and Spencer, probably some more people. Oh wait, we have a calendar. I forget. I'm living in the Stone Ages here. 11 a.m. Tokyo Disney watch-alongs, and of course 9 p.m. every Wednesday is Park Center. Then on Thursday we have Party with Pete at 11 a.m. I don't want to...
Art Smith.
I think he has a special guest.
Yes, from Homecoming. Chef of Homecoming.
Party
at Homecoming.
Pete actually got to have what's his name? Oh, Art Smith from Homecoming from Disney Springs, which is, by the way, still not open yet. Then at 9 p.m. we have WWE News Tonight. That's on Thursday. Friday we have...
Who do you think can make a better Ronto rap? Me or Chef Art Smith?
Oh, you all the way. Art Smith's gonna put like some pimento cheese on it or something, and it'll just stop being a Ronto rap. So Friday, May 8th, we have Colleen teaching us how to make crafts for our moms, so we actually have something to give them or send to them during quarantine.
Good.
I
gotta do something.
I think she's gonna be teaching cards and stuff, but there might be more stuff given that it doesn't specify. And then that night, Friday night, it's gonna be pretty lit. Muppets at Walt Disney World watch along. Nick, are you gonna be tuning in for that? I can't imagine anyone else better.
I might. Well, I mean, I have contacts. I might try to be on it.
I have contacts.
WDWNT. So you know what's really cool? I did a I do this show called I do a podcast Muppets Minute, where we talk about
about it. People were talking about Muppet Minute, the Muppets Minute on the chat.
So we're in minute 20 something. No. We're in minute 20 something of Muppets Take Manhattan. It's our third season. We did the Muppet movie Caper, and now we're on this. we did a special Muppets at Walt Disney World. So we did a special show on that. Tom was part of it, and we dissected all the like concept art and
Oh, that's so
like
cool.
from it, and the behind the scenes and different things like that. And we really broke down the what went on in the Muppets at Walt Disney World. It's a fantastic special. So you could find that at MuppetsMinute.com. Just a little plug for myself, but I will definitely be either tuning in or trying to weasel my way onto that panel. So yeah, be fun. And then Saturday, May 9th, Locked In with Eric Morton, of course, at 11 a.m. And then Deep in the Plus at 9 p.m. Do we
Oh,
know what they're talking? They talked about it last night in the meeting. I don't remember
I
what
don't
they
know. I always
settled on
give
their
Rob a
watching.
hard time because of he. I always feel like they watch very pedestrian things. I
Mainstream
am checking.
movies.
I'm I'm pulling up like the actual schedule right now.
No, we
Um,
do. We rag on them all the time for it. It's like, oh, let's watch The Little Mermaid.
up next on Deep in the Plus. Oh, he hasn't sent. I. It's a mystery. We don't
Let's watch,
know. Just tune
let's
in.
watch this weird Mandalorian show. No one watches that. That's a deep cut.
Oh yeah, no, it's cool that you guys are doing Muppets Take Manhattan. That one's actually not on Disney Plus, because they don't have the rights to it.
Hmm.
It's actually still right. Is it still Sony? Um, Touchstone.
Probably no TriStar.
Yeah, I just
I want
Disney does not
I
have
want
the
to say
rights to
TriStar
Take
because
Manhattan,
it's the horse that
and
flies. It's like ooh, Pegasus thing.
yeah, Columbia.
We talked all about that, but that was so long. I'll tell you. I mean, like it's not a secret. I mean, it's not like because we release a show every day. Um, so we release five
No, I just
minutes
think
per
it's cool you
week.
guys are covering that because, like, it's if it's not on Disney Plus, I feel like it's gonna
Yeah.
eventually fade into obscurity.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just mean we recorded that minute that we talked about that so long ago. But I remember discussing that. But yeah, they don't own the rights to it.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
thank
an
you all
okay
so
one.
much for tuning in. It's 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, and here you guys are watching us talk nonsense about Star Wars and now Muppets. So thank you so much for tuning in and
And
supporting.
Rontos.
And Ronto wrap. If you guys make Ronto wraps, if you guys cook up this creature up here, um, please send us like your recipes and your images. We'd love to feature them. I think Mandy's been cooking up a lot of stuff, um, that from the recipes we've been putting out, and I'd love to see you guys' creations. So yeah, I hope everyone is staying safe. You only have a few more weeks, months until we start seeing some glimpse of a reopening somewhere in some of the parks. Um, so we hope to share more good news with you guys soon.
Yep. Thank you,
All right,
everybody.
Nick.
Have
Thank you for
a good
hosting.
night. Yeah, no, thank you, Jess. I'm glad you made it. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. Good night, everyone.
We'll
Bye.
see everybody later. Bye.